Welcome to the Innovation Iowa podcast. I'm business record editor Sarah Dean. Innovation Iowa connects and activates the people and organizations that are transforming Iowa. This is a special series of 5 episodes. Each one will tell a story related to one of 5 key parts of Iowa's innovation ecosystem: capital, startups, corporations, education, and community organizations. This is episode number 2, focused on government and community. For this series, we're going to be taking you on a journey. We're going to look back and look forward, because to truly understand innovation in our state, we have to know the stories of those who came before us, understand the current moment we're in, and inspire you with the perspectives of people who are working to make our state better in the future. Let's dive in. For our second episode, we're talking about a town of 39 people, Imogene, that wants to grow and wants to be more. We have business record staff writer Lisa Rossi here to interview our guests, Rebecca Castle Laughlin, city clerk of Imogene, and Sacha Wise, the Empower Rural Iowa director, which is a state program that's provided grant funds for Imogene's revival. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Lisa to start the conversation.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Sacha. Hi. I just want to start off and talk about Imogene. According to the latest census, I think it said it had 39 people.
Correct.
And Rebecca, this question is for you to start. You want to see Imogene grow to become more. And I would just say, why? Why save Imogene?
Well, I would say come visit us, and I think you'll figure out why. I grew up about 7 miles south of Imogene, went to school in a little town called Farragut, but my parents were very involved with the Wabash Trace Nature Trail, and it goes through Imogene. And so it's been part of my life, since I can remember, but it's a very strong Irish Catholic community, and that Irish heritage kind of runs deep in everyone's roots, whether you're Irish or Catholic. So Imogene really embraces that and has been known for their St. Patrick's Day celebrations. And we really just like to have fun. And so we want to share that with everybody. And so we want more people to come visit us, and we want more people to come stay forever.
And Sacha, your program, Empower Rural Iowa, helps prop up and increase the population and the opportunities in small towns across Iowa. I want to just talk about why you think Imogene should continue and progress. You visited there, right?
I did visit there through one of our grant programs, and I think Becca's correct that if you visit it, you'll love it. It was a great day that we spent with a group of community members in Imogene. We brought in, through the Empower Rural Iowa grant program that Imogene applied for, a team from across the state to spend the day with community members in Imogene. They gave us a walking tour of the community, which I anticipated would take 20 minutes. And I think we spent 2 hours walking around the community, learning about the history, seeing so many lovely highlights in their community. And then just talk to those community members about what their challenges are, what their goals are, what they could use some help with, and tried to put together some resources and recommendations for them and some grant funding to help them move forward with those projects they had in mind.
And that makes me think of a question for Rebecca. What are the challenges and opportunities for Imogene right now?
Well, there's lots of opportunities. We have lots of spaces to build. We have nowhere to go but up for local businesses. It's almost like a blank canvas. So at its peak, Imogene was about 400 people. So that's a 90% population decline in roughly 100 years. So we'd really like to build that population back up. As part of the population decline, we have a lot of open lots, and, we don't think we're going to get back to 400 people. But 100 would be nice. And so really, for somebody that's looking to build a house, we've got lots of opportunities there. We have a beautiful historic Catholic church that's on top of the hill. We have a softball field that's got a really nice concession stand with a playground and restrooms. We've got a little park down the hill from there that's got hammocks in it during the summer. I mentioned the Wabash Trace already, but we also have a campground there with an expansion planned to the campground. Some other challenges we have besides the population decline are our city streets. The topography of Imogene makes the drainage an issue. Low tax base means that we just don't have a lot of income for the city to operate on. So we run on less than $20,000 a year for the city. So that doesn't go very far if you're trying to repair a street. And we are fortunate that we're on rural water, but houses do need to be on a private septic system. So that's another challenge.
Sacha, I think you told me that Imogene is the smallest community that Empower Rural Iowa has ever funded. Can you tell me what caught funders' attention about Imogene?
Yes, I just was looking at some of our data, and they are by far the smallest community we have ever funded. The next closest is a whopping 91 folks. So, and we have granted Imogene 3 separate grants. So they are prolific at finding resources and accessing those. All of our grant opportunities are competitive. So they have to submit an application process that is scored by members of our task force. The year that they received the Boost grant, 5 of the 10 applications were awarded. So they beat out many larger communities and countywide applications. Of course, there was interest because the community is so small. They submitted an excellent application and just wanting to really help them move their initiatives forward. A small group of individuals really can make a difference, and we're seeing that time and again in Imogene. And I think continuing to invest in the work that they're doing and helping them celebrate the wins that they've had is something that Empower is really proud of.
Yeah, I want to talk about this idea of a small group of individuals making a difference. Rebecca, can you talk about that in Imogene? Because there is a small dedicated group that's working really hard right now to bring more life and vitality to the town.
So I would say first and foremost, the Sons and Daughters of Imogene is our 501c3 organization that started in 2010, and that group kind of came about because the city leaders at the time were talking about disincorporation, and so Imogene is, while the census reflects only 39 people, it's really a much larger community. There's a lot of people that live outside city limits. We're a farming community. And so there's just a lot of interest from people who don't live in town to keep the town alive. And so the Sons and Daughters of Imogene was formed and has been very active since 2010 in helping clean up the town. They organize a city cleanup day every year. They organize multiple events for the community. They have purchased and developed the softball field area, to take that burden off of the city. And it's a dedicated group of volunteers that are just trying to make things better in Imogene.
Sacha, what do you think other rural Iowa communities could learn from Imogene?
I think just as we've talked about, it really just takes some leadership to make things happen. That doesn't have to be an elected official. It doesn't have to be someone who is a leader by title. Local leaders who are invested in their community, they see a direction that they want to move forward, and are able to bring people together to work collaboratively to make that happen. We talk a lot about capacity as an issue in our smaller communities, and I'm sure Becca feels that every day, that there's just her, right, sort of managing all of this, but she has been able to reach out to others and bring other people to the table, not just dollars to the table, but other partners from across the state that are willing to spend time and energy to help move them forward. So I think just asking for that help and identifying those folks locally who can bring people together and move a project forward.
Rebecca, Sacha mentioned leadership, and I wanted to ask you this. In your quest to bring back Imogene, what have you learned about yourself as a leader and as a person? This has been a huge project.
I don't know that I would consider myself a leader. I have a passion for small communities, not just Imogene, but small communities in Southwest Iowa. I enjoy grant writing, which I know for some people that sounds really odd, but it's something that interests me, and so I just like to keep my eyes open for opportunities that are out there. And I guess one thing I would maybe pass on as a piece of advice to other communities is don't rule it out because you think you're too small or you don't have XYZ. I think, look at an opportunity. If it fits, reach out to the people who are managing it and ask them. We were also awarded a rural housing readiness assessment grant from IEDA. And, it was something that had, crossed my mind before, but it was mentioned in the boost report that we got. And so I reached out to Omar with ISU Extension and said, hey, we've only got 39 people. Does this really make sense for us? I mean, are you going to be able to work with us? And, he said, absolutely, submit your application. We can talk through things. And, we're fortunate that we got selected for that. And I think it's been a really valuable process for us as well.
So it sounds like the lesson is put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Find somebody who is good at telling your story. And, like Sacha mentioned, sometimes you just have to ask for help. And by ask for help, I mean, like directly ask somebody. Don't put out a call for volunteers. And if nobody responds, get discouraged. You might have to say, you know what, so-and-so is really good at this. And you might have to just ask them, hey, will you help me do this? And, more often than not, I think they'll say yes. So,
you mentioned your passion for small communities. I wanted to give Sacha a chance to talk about the Empower Rural Iowa program and what it's doing beyond Imogene in Iowa to revitalize Iowa communities.
Oh, I appreciate that opportunity. Yeah, Empower is an initiative of Governor Reynolds. So it was established in 2018 with a task force to help propose policy and programs specific for rural communities. Currently, we have a task force of governor-appointed individuals of 25 representatives from across the state that are living and working in rural communities. We have programming that a variety of grant programs, which we've talked about, such as the Rural Housing Readiness Assessment and the BOOST program that Imogene has benefited from, but other grant programs for planning and innovative housing tech initiatives as well. And then we also try to be that resource at the state. That's my role. So when someone like Becca says, I need help, or who do I call, or what are some opportunities that we could look into, I can be that help in connecting them to programs that we offer here at Iowa Economic Development Authority, or other partners from across the state that have resources and opportunities for communities. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot out there. It's hard to know where to start. So just trying to be an open door for communities to ask for help and then connect them and get them moving in the right direction.
I'm from a small town in Iowa, and I told Rebecca a little bit about this. And I'd love to hear you, Sacha, talk about why it is important for us to be saving our small towns in Iowa.
Well, rural communities are the heart of Iowa, right? I mean, I grew up in a small town in South Dakota, so I come to this work naturally. I visit these communities, and people are choosing to live there and work there, raise their families, retire there for lots of reasons, right? There's great communities across the state, and we need to be investing in those communities and supporting those communities to be vibrant and thriving, because those folks who are living there want to live there. They want to stay there. They want their communities to be a great place to visit and to work. And I think as a state, we recognize that, and we want to continue to invest in those communities and those people.
Rebecca, you talked about, find someone to tell the story of your small town. And I love the stories that you've told me about Imogene, particularly about the St. Patrick's Parade. There's a big giant shamrock painted on the road in the middle of town. I think that just points to the community's passion towards this holiday. Can you talk about the St. Patrick's Parade and the celebration and how you pull that off?
Sure. So, like you mentioned, we've got the giant shamrock in the middle of the road. I don't even know exactly what year that tradition started, but I do remember it from when I was younger. So lately it's been painted the Thursday before St. Patrick's Day. And so a group of us just get together, and, usually an adult does the outline, and we've got a bunch of kids around that are filling it in. And I know my kids have had a couple pairs of tennis shoes that have permanent green paint on them because of it. But it's actually John Deere green paint from our local John Deere dealer. And it's a fun kickoff to the celebration. This year was kind of different for Imogene because the Emerald Isle, which is our local bar and restaurant, was not open. It's currently for sale if anybody out there is looking for a business. So it was a little bit different planning St. Patrick's Day without our kind of community center in operation. But that didn't slow us down. The Sons and Daughters of Imogene got an alcohol license to sell beer, and worked with the city to rent out the old North Bar, which is one of our two original downtown buildings that's left. And there were some emergency repairs that needed to be done to make it habitable for the weekend, but everybody came together and pulled it off. And in my opinion, it was one of the best St. Patrick's Day celebrations in years. The parade was huge. I don't know how many entries we had for sure, but I think it was more than 30. And, we have a king and queen of the celebration that were crowned the night before, after the fish fry that was at St. Patrick's Church. And it was a great weekend.
I have one last question for you, Becca. As we wrap things up and you have this opportunity to be on a soapbox about Imogene, what do you wish people understood about your community, about Imogene?
I think they should just come visit. So I'll put a little plug out there for Shamrock Days, which is the second weekend in July. We have a softball tournament, and then Joe Niebel, who's a local guy that has purchased the former post office. It's an unfortunate thing that our post office closed, but a local contractor was able to purchase it, and it's become kind of a community center for us, especially with the bar closed. But he also built the Shamrock Theater there, and so he has a music festival there for Shamrock Days. And then in August, we have the Rooster Tail Ride, which is a Wabash Trace event that comes through and also has live music in Imogene. And September 12th, we have the half marathon, which starts in Imogene. So I would say pick a time to come down to Imogene and visit. If you'd like a tour of the church and it's not open, reach out to somebody, either the church or the city or the Wabash Trace on Facebook, and we'll put you in touch with somebody who can come give you a tour.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. Before we go, I'm gonna hand it back to Sarah for a look at our next episode.
Rebecca and Sacha, thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about this topic and read more stories of Iowa innovations, head to our website. Our next episode will focus on the present moment in Iowa's entrepreneurial ecosystem, talking about one small business's journey and the role of entrepreneurship in Iowa's future. We hope you join us on the next step of this journey.